It was 1976, I'll never forget it. My specialty was adult infectious diseases, and I had never seen a case of measles, even though I was a specialist in infectious disease and internal medicine. And she just felt terrible. She said it was the worst illness she'd ever experienced. When I examined her mouth, I saw inside of her mouth these red dots. I looked at those and I said, my gosh, I bet this woman, even though she doesn't have a rash, has the measles. And I was feeling like I was just the world's greatest diagnostician because I had diagnosed measles in an adult. Then, around not quite 2 weeks later, I developed sore eyes, and they got all red, and I started coughing, and I developed a fever of 103, 104. I remember starting to get worried that the cough was so bad, the fevers were so high, and it just day after day after day. And if this went on, I was going to need help. I was going to need to be hospitalized. So it's the only time in my life I've been really worried about my health in terms of something that could really harm me or even kill me. I was taking some cough medicine that had codeine in it to try to suppress the cough. On about the 5th or 6th day, I looked down at my chest and I had this rash on my chest. And I immediately thought, well, this is a classic drug reaction to the codeine that I'm taking for my cough. Textbook. And my wife, who's not a doctor, a psychotherapist, walks into the room, looks at me, I had my shirt off, looks at me and said, my God, you got the measles. I told her she was crazy. How could I possibly have the measles? And I asked her if she wouldn't go down to the pharmacy and buy some Benadryl for the drug reaction. And so she said, I'll go down and buy the Benadryl for you, but it's not going to help for the measles. And so when she left the house, I surreptitiously ran into the bathroom with a flashlight, looked into my mouth, and there were the Koplik spots, and realized she was right, that I had the measles. Unfortunately, the story didn't end there. While I got well, my wife said, you know, I don't think I ever had the measles. And the day I broke out in my rash, my son, who was not quite a year and a half, got his first mumps, measles, and rubella vaccine. And the vaccine it was too late for the vaccine to really help prevent him from getting measles. My daughter, who was 4, had been vaccinated for measles, and she never got sick. My son and my wife had to get gamma globulin shots to make the measles less severe if they got it. Both of them, about 2 weeks after I got ill, came down with a very mild case of measles. But I'll never forget that episode because I'm 66 years old now, and I've never had an illness as bad as that. And I was particularly worried, could have been worried very much about my son who was so young, because measles could have been devastating to him. I think as a parent, I would tell other parents, certainly as a doctor, I would tell other parents, please immunize your children. You have a responsibility to them because they can't understand the idea of whether or not they should be vaccinated.